much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. This is season 13, episode 19, which is the second part of the reunion. If you haven't, check out the first part that I posted today. The quick spiel, I'm still getting over this cold. I probably won't be able to speak up louder, so if the audio is low, I apologize. I've tried to raise my voice. One, it hurts my throat, or two, my voice cracks like I'm a 13-year-old boy going through puberty. I can't do it. But that's not why you're here. But let's get into this review. All right, y'all. So the episode opens up where it left off, where we see the continuation of Erica and Kyle talking about the breakdown in their relationship. Kyle is saying it happened because of what happened at the reunion last season, season 12, with the whole Aspen situation with Kathy and, like, you know, Kyle and Kathy and all of that stuff. And excuse me, Kyle ends up saying that she felt like Dorit had her back in the beginning, but as this like season continued, not the season, but the reunion continued, she felt as though Dorit switched up on her, and Dorit wasn't being honest, and she wasn't being like real. She was pretty much like conceding to what the fans thought, because a lot of fans were against Kyle, and a lot of people were on Kathy's side, mainly because Lisa Rinna was in the mix. And Dorit was like, that's asinine, like that's hysterical, like I would never, like, girl, I wanted you and your sister to be cool. That's why I was advocating and trying to reason with you to see her side so y'all could move forward. And I actually believe Dorit. My thing about it is I don't understand what Kyle wanted them to do, because even you weren't standing up for you weren't even standing up to your sister. And for you to think that they're supposed to stand up for you because they're your friends is wild to me. That at the end of the day is your sister. There's levels to this stuff, you know? That's like me arguing with my sister, and then my friends get in the mix, and I'm gonna be looking at the friends crazy because I can yell and cuss at my sister. You can't do that, friend or not, you know? Because at the end of the day, that's my sister. Like, I don't understand what she wanted them to do. Like, this was a long time ago, but I used to be friends with a pair of sisters, and they were cool. This was like, I feel like high school. Was it high school? I feel like it was high school, or maybe undergrad. Either way, but we were friends, but when they would argue, I didn't take sides. I was always neutral, and I would try to, like, and there was sometimes I would see somebody's side more than the other, and I would voice that, but I also would be like, well, you are wrong here, because ultimately I understood that when, what's it called? Like, when they get back to being cool again and being sisters, if I were to really be in the mix, I'm going to be the odd man out. So I don't understand what she wanted from them. Garcelle tries to chime in and be like, Dorit, do you just never say sorry? Like, can you just own that you were wrong? And like Dorit said, I can own when I'm wrong, but in this moment, I'm not wrong, and I'm going to defend myself against something that's not true. And I wanted Garcelle to hush, because I'm like, I get it. You don't like Dorit. You don't see it for that lady, and you feel like she doesn't take accountability for the things that she does wrong. But in this moment, she was right. Like, why? What does she look like arguing with Kathy on the behalf of Kyle? And it's a year after that reunion, and they about to sit on this couch together, kumbaya and stuff. Like, Dorit would be out on the island by herself, especially if Kathy told Kyle, if me and you want to be cool again, then you can't be friends with Dorit. Like people do that. Like, siblings do that. So I'm just like, Garcelle, be quiet. So they talk about Kyle's sobriety. They bring Morgan into it because I think Andy asks, like, do you think Morgan had a reason for Kyle's sobriety? And Dorit was like, no, because I think that's who he asked, like, what do you think? And then Kyle ends up getting in her feelings because she was like, y'all made it seem like I was doing something so crazy and reckless by just wanting to get healthier. And everyone's kind of like, no, it came out of nowhere. Like, you did a 180. Like you were working out religiously, you weren't drinking like you normally were. And then when we would ask you like what's good, you're not explaining it. And honestly, the best way that Kyle could have like deaded this whole entire situation was just saying, y'all, Lorraine is gone. Okay. I couldn't stop that from happening. I need something I can control, and I can control my drinking, and I can control my health. I can work out and exercise. Everybody probably would have left Kyle alone, but it was the simple fact that Kyle kept playing like semantics, like not semantics, but she kept playing games. It's like when people would ask you about it, you're being coy and you don't want to talk about it, when it's like just talk about it. Talk about it, because that's what we're supposed to do, because you're on a reality show. So then Sutton was like, you were reckless, when Kyle was like, I wasn't being reckless, because you tried to insinuate I had an eating disorder, and like I was a drinking, like I have an eating disorder and I drink a lot. And Kyle's like, no, I didn't. And Sutton is like, you drop little seedlings. And Kyle's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, Kyle, like she said, you insinuated that that lady had an eating disorder the whole entire season. You said that she be knocking her food around, she be pushing her food around. You also said she kind of drinks a lot. Then Dorit was chiming in like, you definitely insinuated that that lady had an eating disorder. So then Kyle was like, no, I didn't. I said you were a little off after we had that conversation. And they were bringing up like the name it conversation. And she brings up the weed dinner. And Sutton was like, girl, I was fine with not having that conversation at the dinner. You was the one that was pressing me, and I tried to talk to you to like help to bridge the gap, to let you know what's going on in my life. So also, why was Kyle constantly licking her lips? Like it was given like that lip licking lady that shall not be named. But it was like every minute Kyle's like, I was like, Kyle, why are you licking? Like, what's going on? Like, is that a nervous thing you doing now? But I was like, I counted. I was like, that's a lot. Like, because I thought maybe I was just like, sometimes you just catch things. Like when you're reviewing shows, you just start to like notice certain things. But she kept doing it, and I was like, are you that anxious or nervous? Because I know that's a nervous thing. She was rubbing on that crystal the whole entire time. I was like, you good? So, Kyle ends up saying, well, y'all knew what was going on in my life, and y'all kept pressing the issue. And they're like, no, we didn't. We asked you. And then Kyle brings up what happened at Eagle Woman and the retreat. And Dorit was like, Kyle, you said y'all were having issues in your marriage, but you never explained to us what was going on. So then Kyle gets mad, and she's like, y'all, why do you think you're entitled to my business? And I'm like, Kyle, like you said, you've been on this show for 13 years, and you've been in everybody's business. Like when I tell you, they've pulled up clips of you saying when you try to run from whatever is going on in your life, it puts more of a spotlight on it. You did that this whole entire season. They also have posted clips of you saying, what it was like, when it's out there, we have to talk about it. It's out there that there's something going on between you and Mauricio. And now you got this random like 29, 30-year old that's just hanging around with you. And when we ask you what's good with her, you are beating around the bush. So you're not even taking your own advice or the words or the statements that you've thrown in other people's faces, like like you thought you was doing something by saying, I've been on this show for 13 years, my daughter went to, girl, yes, a show that you don't have to be on. You chose to be on this show, and you chose to share with us your life. I'm grateful because I enjoy watching it, but that's not like I've given too much. We know you ain't giving us everything. We know you haven't. So then Sutton was like, we all share. And then Kyle was like, all you shared was, I think she said cashmere sweaters, a dating coach, and a horse. And Sutton was like, and because Sutton has shared a lot this season, we found out how much alimony she get. We also found out about Merce being in the purse, and we got more information about her father, and her being the one that found him when did she find him? No, she felt like she could have stopped him because they were going to the house before, it act like he did what he did to himself. And then she's also shared more about like the issues that she had with her husband and how much control he had. So I'm like, to say she hasn't shared, I think is a reach. And Kyle, it wasn't hitting the way I think Kyle thought it would hit. The argument with Kyle and Sutton keeps going. And, Sutton is like, y'all really did me dirty this season. Like, you tried to insinuate I had a drinking problem, I had an eating disorder. They even called upon Crystal, and Crystal was like, I feel like y'all were trying to insinuate she had an eating disorder, more so Dorit than Kyle. But I was like, Crystal, you should have just stood in it. They both were trying to insinuate that lady had an eating disorder and a drinking problem. And Sutton and Kyle are going back and forth. Kyle was like, you did me so dirty. You came back this season wanting to tear me down. And Sutton is like, no. And here's my thing is, I feel like Kyle didn't expect Sutton to come back being like her. Because Kyle used to act the same way as Sutton in the earlier seasons, where if there was something going on, she was asking questions. She wanted to know what was good and what was up. And I think because her life is in shambles for her right now, she's starting to realize how it didn't feel fair, or it didn't feel good when she would do it to other people, and she's feeling it right now because Sutton was asking questions. She was prying and she was doing a lot, but we not gonna act like you didn't do that beforehand. And and it's like, it's kind of like the name of the game, girl. You were saying that you can't run from things because it makes them bigger. You shouldn't have ran. You should have just sat in it and been like, you know what? Me and Mauricio, I don't know. I said, some days I think my marriage is going to work, and some days I don't think it's going to work. And right now I'm just struggling. Had you been that upfront, I don't think anybody would be looking at you crazy. But the fact that I saw a clip from Mauricio show that is on Netflix, and I got more tea about the issues in y'all's marriage from Mauricio than you, says a lot that you are hiding a lot of stuff. Because Mauricio, on that little clip that I saw for them trying to promote their show, he was spilling about the stress of having this super, like, this huge corporation, him stressing out that, like, I don't want to fire people because that's how they feed their family. Then him, like, he was honest. You have not been honest, Kyle. You've been giving like half truths and like leaving breadcrumbs, and then you get mad when people aren't satisfied with that, because it's like you said, you've been on this show for 13 years and you've been pretty open. So it's like, now why are you trying to act like you don't want to be open about this? So they're arguing. Then Dorit chimes in, and Dorit was like, we weren't saying that you had a drinking problem. And what's her name? Sutton is like, yes, you were. Like, don't play with me. And Dorit was like, I don't know if you have a drinking problem. And Sutton is like, I don't know if you have a drinking problem either, Miss Carcass out. I don't know if you got carcass all over the floor. Dorit was not ready for that, because Dorit's face was like, yeah, girl. It's synonymous with your name right now. Miss Carcass in, Carcass out. And so Sutton is like, you really think I got a drinking problem? And Dorit was like, I do not think you have. Well, like, and Dorit was playing semantics with words too, because she was not saying that she didn't. She kept saying, I do not know if you have a drinking problem. And Sutton was like, what are you trying to say? And Dorit, I was like, girl, what are you trying to say? You trying to say she out here like that? So then they get on the topic of Denise and wondering why Denise was so angry. Okay, y'all, I thought my notes were kind of out of order. Wondering why Denise was so angry and why she wanted to be upset with Erica. They also bring up the jacket thing where she was like, don't do this, Dorit. And they actually explained why Denise was being like that, because I guess anytime Denise comes into a room, I guess Dorit is always like fixing something on her, and it kind of comes off like mean girlish to Denise. So I guess that's what she meant. But like, Dorit was really trying to help you out, because that jacket was definitely flipped upside down. And pretty much they all think that Denise really doesn't have an issue with Erica. She's just mad that she can't go at Lisa, Teddy, or Brandy about the Brandy hookup rumors. And, Erica is the closest thing to them, so that's why she got issues with Erica. They then get to Dorit, and they talk about Dorit's brown hair and her budget, and like, because I guess someone said, have they put Dorit on a budget? And I don't know, has PK put Dorit on a budget? And she was like, no. And they were like, well, you have changed. Like, your hair is darker. And I think the commenter said, like, blonde is expensive to keep up. And she was like, no, I wanted a change. I wanted something new. I wanted something different. And then Andy ends up kind of like yawning on her. And she's like, are you serious? I don't think Andy liked Dorit either. Or he kind of like, I don't know, he might like her, but Dorit is a long winded person as somebody that's also long winded. Like, you can tell sometimes she goes around the airport instead of landing the plane. So they talk about the new Robin story, where they said that Dorit was going to get her Christmas bonuses to pay her employees, or to give to her employees, and I guess she wanted to put them in like a little nice box. So she went to Marshalls, and everyone was like, Marshalls. I think TJ Maxx is better than Marshalls. Like, if I had to rank it, I probably would say TJ Maxx, Marshalls, then Ross. Because sometimes in Ross you can find really nice things, but you have to like dig for them. Whereas TJ Maxx, it seems like it's more readily available to you, and then Marshalls is kind of hit or miss. You know what I mean? But she was like, yes, I like going to Marshalls, and then they talked about Home Goods. Either way, Home Goods is expensive. Like, especially depending on what you're going to Home Goods for. Home Goods is expensive at times. So she was like, she was going there, I guess, to get like Christmas boxes, like the cute little boxes to put the money in. And they actually were able to look at the what's it called, the like surveillance footage, and I guess she was being followed by three men, and they were the ones that took her purse. But it's still a very far-fetched story to read, if we gonna be honest. Like, first of all, why are you walking around with $10,000 like you a drug lord? Like, why is it not on a credit card or something? Because there's no reason why you need to walk around with 10 grand on you, unless you're going straight to wherever you're going to buy. Like, there was no need for you to like stop. And if anything, you should have left the 10 grand in the car. Or just, if you was gonna use like, 1,000 to pay for this stuff, then you just should have took the $1,000 out. But like, that just doesn't make sense to me. They then started bringing up the whole Garcelle's comment, and I knew she was gonna get in trouble for that comment. But they talk about the comment where she was like, Garcelle said in her confessional where she was like, I don't really notice jewelry. The only time I really have noticed jewelry is when Dorit said she got robbed and she still was able to keep her jewelry on afterwards. And so Dorit and Garcelle got into it about that situation. Dorit and Garcelle, our conversation keeps going, and they start to argue. And Dorit pretty much said, girl, you tried to say that I was lying about getting robbed. And Garcelle said, no, I never said that you were lying. I just said I have questions, because it doesn't make sense to me why you would get robbed and they would let you keep your phone, as well as, excuse me, I think she said, would let you keep your phone. And then she said, would let you keep your jewelry. And so Dorit was like, well, let me explain it to you. And Garcelle was trying to cut her off, but Dorit was like, no, let me explain it. Where she was just like, I told them that, like, I just give me my phone. I just want to call my husband. And they let me do it. Okay. And, I have my jewelry on because I didn't put it where it normally goes. So, like, they weren't able to take it. And so Garcelle is just kind of like, okay. And then Andy chimes in and was like, you can track phones nowadays. And she said, you got a point. And Garcelle was like, that was my opinion. She ends up saying sorry, but she does the I'm sorry if that hurt your feelings. But it was given very much like, girl, I'm not giving you no more than that. And Garcelle ends up saying, it doesn't change your world if I have an opinion. And Dorit was like, yes, it does. And here's the thing. It's like, I think the issue is a lot of people don't believe Dorit's story, because it doesn't make sense to a lot of people. A lot of people are like, girl, either y'all would have been harmed, like legit harmed, or it would have been a very grisly outcome. But the way you made it seem, it just seems very far-fetched to a lot of people. On top of that, you getting robbed again, and it's like, did you not learn from the first time? So, and then it's like also y'all having all of these like insurance problems. So like not insurance problems, but a lot of financial problems. Like that's why people are asking like, girl, are you on a budget? It's giving that y'all like people feel like that all these things were being done for like insurance purposes. I'm not saying that's what happened, but a lot of fans feel that way. And I think the issue is it feels unbelievable. That's not to say it can't happen. There's many of people that have been robbed. I remember in undergrad, one of my classmates, well, he was an upperclassman. I think it was my freshman year. He got robbed at the ATM that was on campus. They stripped that man down to his boxers. They stole like the clothes off his back, his phone. I think the only good thing is that like his he was riding with someone so they weren't able to like steal his car keys or anything like that, but like they stole everything from him, and everyone was so surprised because it was on campus, and where our ATM was in front of our registrar's office, and there's cameras there. So and there's also like a police like button thing that everyone was like, dang, like the police don't weren't around and stuff like that. But it was like late at night, and so people can get robbed and be okay. But I just think it's like people kind of it is also like the way we consume media now, everyone doesn't believe everybody no more. You know what I mean? A lot of us just feel like people be lying and doing things for TV purposes, and we also feel like production has their hands in a lot more things that like I feel like people really felt like Dorit and PK cooked this up because the word on the curve was that they were about to get kicked off the show, and then she gets robbed, and now she on the show for several seasons. And so I think some of us just take the fan theories too far, but I'm hoping that this is not like something she made up. But they agreed to like move on after Garcelle apologized. They then talk about um Sutton saying that the rumor was like the streets were saying that PK was in the car with a woman when that whole DUI like car accident situation happened, and what's her name? Sutton was like, I was joking, but I'm sorry. And Dorit was like, what streets were talking? And Sutton says the streets that said that I like to put vodka in my coffee. And I said, ooh. But I guess PK also had something like negative to say about Sutton, where he said, I guess, he said something to the fact that Sutton wanted to be Dorit. And I said, first of all, I don't think anybody wants to be Dorit. And third of all, you don't make enough money. Like Sutton is getting $300K in alimony a month. Nobody wants to be you, PK and Dorit. Y'all are broke. No ma'am, no ham. Like, and so, Sutton is like, yeah, PK got me together. They also talk about the prenup. And I guess Dorit got with PK when he was bankrupt. I said, girl, you hustling backwards. You are hustling backwards. And then they end up Kyle about signing documents that Mauricio gives to her without having her lawyer look at them. And it was pretty stupid. Like, Kyle's response was dumb. But a lot of people have been saying that, like, that rumor that's been going around that Mauricio is in, like, legal trouble, this is Kyle's way of getting out of it. I don't know how true that is, but she sounded stupid. They then start talking about PK and Dorit's marital issues. They also bring up Julia Roberts and how she thought the whole Pretty Woman like anniversary thing was stupid. Like she was just like, I didn't get it. And she was like, it would have made it better if he would have just gave her the necklace. But by the time she set her eyes on it, PK was telling Dorit she couldn't have it. So it was stupid. And I said, okay. Then they asked about the issues. Andy was like, okay, so what issues are y'all having? Like, are y'all living together? Are y'all living separately? And what it comes down to is that they were living separately. So after they wrapped, things kind of took a worse turn with PK and his working. He was he was staying at Boy George's house or like his hotel room for a few days. And then Dorit got mad because Andy was like, so y'all were living apart. So then she said words, like she was like, words mean things, Andy, like use the right words. And so that's got Garcelle and Crystal looking at each other like, girl, because I forgot to talk about this in the last episode, was that they got into it about the word attack and how Garcelle was like, you were attacked, you were robbed, someone broke into your house and attacked you, and you used the word attack on me when I was not attacking you, and coming out of your mouth and coming at me, that's not right. And the thing is like, I do think Dorit felt attacked because she was arguing with everybody was coming at her. You know, you had her and Sutton going at it. Then Denise, she got ate up by Denise, and then the Garcelle chimed in. There was just a better way that she could have said it. She was like, all of y'all are, she could have just been like, all of y'all are coming at me. Like, don't come at me. But you said attacked, and it does mean something coming out of your mouth as a white woman. Like, we just gonna have to call a thing a thing. I know a lot of people feel like not Dorit, but Garcelle is like race baiting or like, yeah, but I don't think that's what that was in this moment. I think she legit, like, I think Garcelle felt some type of way like, girl, why would you say that about me? And because she already doesn't like Dorit, I think it just adds an extra sprinkle of like, ooh, like, I already don't like you using that kind of word, it feels like a microaggression. Don't do that with me, sis, because I didn't attack you. I feel like had somebody else said it to Garcelle, maybe she wouldn't. She might have felt the same way, but not as like the reaction wouldn't have been so visceral. I think because she doesn't like Dorit, that's why she felt that way. But Andy ends up asking Dorit, like, so how are y'all doing now? She hesitates and she's like, we're better than ever. Using Ashley Darby's words when we know y'all aren't better than ever. But she says PK's been sober for 49 days. They then bring up the friendship between Kyle and Dorit again. And um Andy was like, well, Dorit, how do you feel knowing that you were going through all of this and you had shared it with Kyle, but Kyle didn't feel like sharing that with you? And Dorit said it hurt her feelings. And then Kyle ends up saying that she wished Dorit would have reached out to her, knowing that she could tell that something was going on. And I'm like, I can see Kyle's point, but also, girl, if you wanted someone, I that's what I've been learning. If I want someone to talk to me, there are definitely people in my life that if they see something wrong with me, they're reaching out to make sure I'm okay. But there's some people I have to tell them like, hey, I'm going through this. Like, can you pray for me? Can we talk about it? And that's what they'll do. But I just feel like, girl, if Dorit is telling you I'm going through my own situation, why would you then think she'd be like, girl, I could tell you going through something too? Because I feel like even if she asked if you were going through something, you wouldn't be honest, Kyle. Like, you would definitely not be honest. So Kyle ends up saying that she wasn't ready to talk about it. And then Andy says, do you think you guys cleared things up? And she's like, not really, but I think we can move on from this. And Kyle was like, definitely. I don't know about that because online, a couple of the blog pages have been saying that like Kyle says she's done with Dorit after her like releasing the text messages. Then you had Teddy on the online being Kyle's mouthpiece on her podcast, pretty much saying that Dorit crossed the line. So I really don't think they cool right now. We get to the Erica segment and they're doing all of her throwbacks and all of that stuff, and everyone's really happy for her because like the phoenix from the ashes, she rises. They then go on about Sutton making the dig about her tickets being $7. And everyone had to call BS on Sutton because it's like, girl, you were throwing digs at her for her tickets to be $7. But Sutton's whole thing was like, well, they were saying that your tickets was $1 and I said it was 7. But she said it was a joke. They then bring up the whole Denise situation, and I think Sutton asks, like, do you feel bad for what you did? And Erica said, nope. And like Erica said, Denise was asking for it because Erica in the beginning was very polite towards Denise at the weed dinner. And then when they went to Crystal's house, Denise just wanted an issue, and she got one, and she looked a mess and a fool. They then talk about this new man that she was seeing around town with in Las Vegas, and we find out that that's like her old private lawyer. Now, some people said that they talked about the guy in the Housewives and the Hustler part 2, and he used to be cool with Tom, and he was the one that they say it has been funding Erica's lifestyle allegedly, like as it states right now. They talk about her having like no empathy, and she pretty much says like they were telling me like you show any type of emotion, it makes you look guilty. So I could not be as empathetic or show as emotions or show up the way people wanted me to show up because they were advising me not to, and I was doing what my lawyers told me to do. They then talked to her about her meeting up with Tom's victims on the Housewives and the Hustlers too. And she said under her legal counsel, they advised her to meet up with them because she was like, I wanted them to get to know me beyond the reality show. And then Andy was like, can you explain why you sat down with them more? Like, can you better explain why you did it? She was like, no. Erica was like, no, no. And everyone was like, okay. And he was like, why, and she's like, I'm not gonna do that, I'm not doing that. And then so Andy moves on from that, and he was like, well, did you learn any new information? And she said she found out that one of her paychecks was sitting or came out of one of the victims trust funds. And everyone was like, oh, okay, so Tom was really stealing, he was really out here stealing. Okay. So then they start talking about Tom's dementia. And Crystal pretty much is like, that doesn't sound right. Basically, because her father, I guess, passed away from Alzheimer's, and she works with the Alzheimer's Foundation. And she was just like, from the way you spoke about it 4 years ago, and now I guess Crystal said the progression of dementia and Alzheimer's takes at least like a good 9 to 10 years. And we're here, he would be a lot worse. So it doesn't make sense why they said he can stand for trial. Erica was like, girl, basically you just want to say that he's faking it. And just say it if that's what you think. And I said, well, I'm with Erica, girl, because Crystal, that's what you saying. That's what you saying. That's what you're saying, Crystal. So just say it. But she didn't want to say it. And so they kind of break for a moment. And Garcelle's like, oh, I understand what you were trying to say. That with all the things that they told us 4 years ago, he would be a lot farther gone and not competent to stand for trial. And so I think Garcelle was like, so that means somebody's lying. And then Eric, no, what's her name? Crystal was like, that means Erica's lying. Like that would mean that she would be lying because she's the one that's told us this. My thing is, we all knew that Tom was faking it. Like when they would showing like Tom out and about and he looked more haggard, you could tell that they were trying to play it up. But the truth is, like, that man's mind isn't going. Like, it might be slightly going, like he might be a like curmudgeon-y, but like he should be able to stay in trial and have to pay reparations and all them people money back from stealing from them. So we get this glimpse of Kathy. I don't know why she here. I don't know why she's here. I don't really want her to be here because I know it's going to be pointless and she's not going to give us anything. But she basically says that she knows her sister isn't making this decision of getting a divorce or separating from Mauricio on a whim. She knows that Kyle probably has been thinking about it for at least 3 to 4 years. And as a Capricorn myself, because Kyle's birthday is the day before mine, I can, Kathy not lying. Like before you leave a relationship, I think about it. I think about it. Now I'm not gonna be staying that long, but I'm gonna think about it, and I'm gonna really like weigh my options. Okay, so I do believe that Kyle just didn't think about this a month or two ago. They then get on Sutton about the whole Magic Mike situation and the whole like her acting like a prude. Sutton says she really didn't know what to expect. She brought the money for the ladies, but she wasn't expecting that. And the truth of the matter is, Sutton, your feelings were hurt. You had on pants. You thought the men were gonna take you up on stage. They didn't, and you felt some type of way, girl. Just own that. So then Erica and Sutton get into it because Sutton feels like Erica wanted to humiliate her in front of those dancers when the elevator opened. And Erica's like, well, you humiliated me the way you stormed out and my friends were there. So they kind of like really, it was blame on both sides. More on Sutton's side because, girl, you did make a scene for no reason and you threw a temper tantrum. But we find out that Sutton pretty much had gotten news about her husband moving to London. And her husband basically told her, I'm moving to London. So is James. I guess that's the youngest son. And so are you. And everyone was like, well, you're not married anymore. Why would you need to move? And Sutton was like, well, he used to have that much control over my life. Like, he used to dictate everything. And I was like riled up about it because that's the bad thing and the dark side of like being a kept like woman or a kept person in general. That person starts to believe that they own you, and you start to believe that they do because they're the ones that has the money. And Sutton said, I told him I'm not moving. Because remember, Sutton was like, her husband lived like down the street from her. She said, I told him I'm not moving and neither is my son. And he actually accepted it, and I was surprised. But she was like, I started to change after a while about letting go. But Garcelle even says that's how she was like, I didn't realize he had that much control over her like that until this situation. So it just shows that there's a lot that she had to unpack. Then Sutton ends up saying that, you know what, Kyle, I didn't like the fact that you said all I have is cashmere sweaters and my horse. I have more things than that. And Kyle said, I only said it because like you kept harping on my family. And they start going back and forth. It was kind of stupid. Because I was like, Sutton, you should have said that when she said it. Like, you should have said that. So then Andy brings up about Kyle saying in her Amazon Live that she was taking a break from Sutton. And Kyle said, well, the things that Sutton said about her and their friendship, it hurt her feelings, saying that their friendship was a facade. And Kyle, let's be honest, you don't like Sutton. Like, every chance you have gotten, you've made slick digs at Sutton. And you weren't very nice to Sutton throughout the season or last season, if we're going to keep it real. And I think Sutton is starting to realize, like, y'all's relationship is not what she thought it was. And then they bring up Teddy, and he was like, Teddy said that I put vodka, like I have vodka in my purse, and you didn't say anything. A friend would have said, that's not true. But you didn't say that. So then Kyle was like, well, I should have said certain things I should have said I didn't say. And like, can we just say that? And no, Sutton is like, no, Kyle, you've been real mean to me. You've been really mean to me. And Sutton and Kyle's like, you haven't been mean to me. So they start going back and forth. Honestly, my takeaway from it was Kyle feels some type of way that everybody was pressing her about the issues in her relationship because she didn't appreciate it. Even though Kyle has done it to a lot of the other cast members in previous seasons, it's not, like they said, it's no fun when the rabbit got the gun anymore. Okay? And that's what's happening with Kyle. Kyle has been mean towards Sutton. She has taken slick digs at Sutton. But I feel like they all do because they think Sutton is the weakest link in the group. And I think what's bothering them is Sutton is now one of the fan favorites and they have to move accordingly. Or they don't have to move accordingly. But as much as Kyle says that Dorit takes on fan perception, I think she does too. Because if anything, it seems like y'all don't be wanting to say certain things to people because you don't want the fans mad at you. So yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic. Hop down in the comments below. We catching up. But thank you for watching, and I'm out, y'all. Deuces.